Mom, shut up! We're doing a podcast!
Welcome back to Pushing the Issue with Rocky and Shadow, live from our parents' basement. Kind of.
Sorta. We're live in a basement.
Live in a basement, in a dungeon.
In a dungeon. Low ceilings down here, bro.
I do what I can.
We're actually in Shadow's BYU approved apartments, so
Yeah.
probably shouldn't tell anyone that. They'll kick you out for having me down here, mister.
No, you can visit. Same gender. How was your week, bro?
Well, good. I've actually got stories from the past 2 weeks because we skipped it last time for the Godcast. Would you like some
That's
of
right.
those
I
or
forgot.
what?
Sure. Lay them on me.
So, as many of you know, and now all of you will know, I adopted my oldest son, Carter. He was my wife's from a previous relationship, and I got the privilege to adopt him. So, he's 15 now and looking to drive. And we lost all his paperwork. His new birth certificate, which means that we never got his social security card changed to his new name, which is
okay.
my last name. So he's been pressuring us. You gotta get that so we can get my driver's license, like a teenager does. And
That's not specifically making fun of his son. That's making fun of every 15-year-old ever.
100%. And so I have to get his adoption paperwork and a copy of his birth certificate. And the lady at the birth certificate place was super good, super helpful, in and out as quickly as I could. And the lady at the so I had to go get a copy of his adoption decree, and I go into the courthouse in Provo, and I go through the sheriff's station. For some reason, there's freaking at least 5 sheriffs standing there making sure no one's sneaking stuff into the courthouse. I don't know how often it happens that they get people sneaking stuff in, but you'd swear it was a daily thing because of all the gorillas in suits in sheriff's uniforms standing there, because they're just massive men looking to intimidate anyone going in. Fortunately, I'm unintimidatable. But so I go in, I get through
There's some holes in the story.
I get through the maze of gorillas, and take off your belt and all the stupid stuff, and then
the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
You go inside.
Yeah, I go inside. Well, I was trying to decide when did a bailiff with a gun not when did that become not enough security in a I mean, I haven't heard of any guns getting snuck in to courthouses in the state. It's just weird. It's like we're ramping up. It's like the Cold War. We're ramping up all this security, and I'm like, for what? Don't the criminals have to escalate before you guys start escalating? I guess. I don't know.
Why are we preemptively ramping up security?
It's weird. Anyways. So,
Dude, got a bad feeling about this.
So it's already bad enough. You're already kind of on your heels, going in. And then you get in there to the court clerk. There's 4 people in line. It's not a fast process for anybody. There's 4 people in line standing there. There's 1 guy working. There's 2 people working for the juvenile court. And there's 1 lady sitting there talking to somebody out of sight, like down a hallway in the office. And of course you want to give her the benefit of the doubt. You're like, oh, she must be I don't know, working, doing something else. Maybe she's not a clerk. She's just found a chair and she's talking to her friend.
She's doing some important stuff, is what you want to conclude.
Yeah. So the one guy working, and the other thing, like the juvenile people can't switch over to adult when they don't have anyone to help. Why can't they come help the adult court? Or at least one of them. I get it. Leave one of them there, but the other one can't come help. Because that would be too efficient. Are the programs that different? They can't seem to figure out how to help the adult court people. So the guy cycles through two people. So I'm behind one other person in line, and the line's getting longer behind me. And guess who finishes her conversation? And well, she doesn't finish her conversation, just decides, I guess I better help with this line. So continues the conversation she's having, but opens her window and starts helping people. And I get it, and it wasn't anywhere near lunchtime, but let's say she was on her lunch break. You can't hide from the people paying your salary to do what you do, to have your stupid conversation. You have to do it right in front of the people waiting in line. Like these leeches, and I hate to say it because I'm sure the guy that helped me was very nice, but
and it sounds like there were some people there who were doing the best they could.
Yeah.
We're moving people through the line.
Exactly.
Sure.
So if our taxes don't pay these people, then it's the speeding tickets these freaking cops write us is what pays these people. So either way, we're paying them. And then I get there, I have to pay money to get a copy of the adoption. $5 for a copy for 4 papers. Does that sound
reasonable?
What do you think the markup is on that? Like 1,000%,
What do you think printing costs are? 2 cents a page?
Yeah, like, okay. So, which is fine. I get it. I should keep track of my paperwork. I'll pay the $5. It's not an exorbitant fee, but the point is we're paying these people to watch them have conversations with their friends before they decide, I guess I'll help these people out who pay my
salary.
And people are just like, in general, citizens of this country are just like, yeah, but what they do is necessary. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Not super necessary.
I have to get adoption paperwork for my kid to get his driver's license, in my mind, that he doesn't need. Why do you need a driver's license? What good does a driver's license do other than track the citizenry? Other than invade your privacy? What does a driver's license do?
Well, and if you're like me, which I know you are, because I've seen your driving record, they have a pretty detailed list of infractions that show up under your driver's license. For me, it's ballpark 50 times the cops have looked at my driver's license and been like, this is going on in your life. They have a written record of everywhere I've been and everywhere I'm going and at what speed I'm doing it for the last 8 years. Or how old am I? Yeah, 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So.
And you've been driving longer, and I know you drive the same way, and so yours is even more extensive.
And I'm sure there's people right now out there, well, probably not in our audience because it's not that big, but there are people in your life that are like, but we have to have these things. It's to protect. Okay. So you are trading, and I don't want to say it like this. Let's say you are preferring to deal with the inconveniences of too little freedom rather than too much freedom. And I would rather have it the other way. I'd rather be able to say, my son here and I reached an agreement with with his biological father that I would take care of him now. He's now my son. And he's 13. I think he's old enough I can start teaching him how to drive. And, just for emergencies, let's say I leave him home with his siblings and they need to get to a hospital or something, or maybe his mom has a heart attack and they need to get to a hospital or something. Why is that such a bad thing for me to be able to say, my son, he's pretty mature for his age, I think I'm going to let him drive once in a while, with me there. And I recognize that runs the risk of my neighbor might be not very bright and decide to let their 11-year-old drive by themselves all the time. I get it. But do you really think we're saving any lives by preventing that?
Be an interesting statistic to see.
Do you think I could come to my neighbor and say, hey man, your kid's driving like a crazy person. Could we maybe not do this? Maybe you as the parent could. But people don't want to engage with their neighbors like that. Is that what we're preventing? That's the only thing we're preventing, is engaging with our neighbors?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes.
I mean, why?
Yes.
Honestly, in my mind, when I was 13, there was a lot less testosterone pumping through me than there was when I was 16, or say now. I probably would have been a better driver than I am. Say now. Sometimes that music gets bumping, and I just put my foot on the throttle, and I go super duper fast. And guess what? The driver's license, all the cops writing chicken crap tickets, they're not stopping it.
Well, and to that end, I would assume you were the same way. I learned to drive when I was 12 or 13.
Sure.
Our dad, I think the statute of limitations is up. He can't get in trouble for that.
Yeah, maybe.
No, 10 years.
Yeah. No, I was just kidding. I'm sure it's fine.
Cross your fingers. No, but I learned to drive when I was 12 or 13, and I don't know about you, but hands 10 and 2, scared as all get out. Like,
sure.
You're not like driving like a maniac when you're 13 years old. You're like, oh, this is serious. I'm in charge of this vehicle now, and you're driving along, creeping along, and learning how it goes. And it seems much safer to teach someone to do something when they're scared of it, because most 16-year-olds are
stupid,
ignorantly fearless is what I was going to say. Like, very unintelligent, coupled with this idea that they're invincible and going to live forever. And
a newfound drug called testosterone that is the cause for 91% of murders in this country off the top of my head. Right? I just don't,
Yeah.
What are we doing? And Adam Carolla has this saying, like, who are these rules for? Like, if an alien species came to this planet and was like, oh, these people don't need overlords, they already have them. Like, we don't have to put any retarded rules in their way to herd them into place. They did it themselves. Look at this. They have arbitrary speed limits. They can only go so fast in their cars. And this guy's standing in line while this chick talks for who knows how long to pay money to tell the world that this is his son. The kid he's been taking care of for, I don't know, 13 years. He's been paying to feed, paying for eye surgeries for. But he's got to pay this guy $5 while this chick talks to her friend to prove that he's the dad. What are we doing? Why do we do this to ourselves? An alien race is like, they're already whooped into submission.
We got him.
Yeah. They're taken care of. Who cares?
Oh, shoot.
Right? So, it's bizarre.
It's been a good week then.
Yeah. Been a good week. I won't even get into the other stories, but
that's a literary device that we've used called foreshadowing, because we're talking all about the bureaucracy today, folks.
Yeah, it's gonna get ugly.
When we get there.
Do you have any stories from the week you want to tell before we
let's see,
lose the rest of our listeners?
I don't know. No, just working, man. Just working like a dog.
Working like a dog.
Oh, we got to work with the other guys, that other company. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Went up there, showed up on time, retarded than the guys that actually worked for that company.
Yeah.
Please be listening. Please be listening.
They're not. They are not, sir.
Yeah, it's been good. Just work, though. Busy.
Yeah, that was a good little job. It was nice for me. Just like, oh, this guy can deal with all the being the boss ball crap. I'll just work. I'll just weld.
I'll just freaking weld beams up. That's sweet. Yeah, been a good week, though.
So, yeah.
Been good. Oh, I guess the Super Bowl was yesterday. I didn't watch it.
Me neither. What'd you do instead?
Napped. Literally anything else. I find that 4 hours is a bit too much time for a sporting event for me.
Yeah.
I did watch the highlights on YouTube. That took 15 minutes, and
nice.
I got the experience of the whole game. That was dope.
Sweet.
Yeah, so.
A little, not big on the pomp and circumstance of the old Super Bowl, huh?
No.
Me neither. No. We watched the 7th Harry Potter. The Super Bowl of Harry Potters.
Attaboy. Part 1 or part 2?
Part 2. So is that the 8th movie or the 7th?
The 8th movie.
Is there 7 books?
7 books and 8 movies.
So this is going to make a lot of people mad, but that's the first and only movie that I've liked better than the books. And I love the book, but something
it's
about
Harry
that.
Potter 7 part 2, huh?
Mm-hmm. Something about that, the way they did that movie just gets me right here, you know.
Just gets you in the heart.
Yeah, and my I recognized, like, because my team played this year in the Super Bowl, the 49ers.
I didn't know you were a 49ers fan.
So, well, I grew up in the Steve Young era. And
sure.
I'm a young Latter-day Saint, so at least, yeah. So I was like, well, you know, maybe I didn't want my kids to feel like I was taking something from them in their youth, you know, because we've always just watched the 7th Harry Potter. But I asked them, do you guys want to try the Super Bowl this year or just watch Harry Potter again? 1, I don't care, and 3, Harry Potter. So my kids are still young enough that I get to still watch Harry Potter.
Attaboy. I think the first book like that for me was The Hobbit. I like the movies better than the book. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm just saying that to irritate my brother.
Shadow is riling me up.
Oh, shoot.
You had me for half a second. Is he serious right now? I'm going to kill him. This will be the first ever murder on podcast.
And you better believe we'd still upload it.
Yeah, for sure. Except for Shadow be dead, and he's the only one that knows how to do it. So
yeah, it's not hard. You could Google it.
Just get your roommate to do it or something.
You could Google it. Okay, should we begin? There's the update for the week, folks. Longer one than usual. It's a good story.
Yeah.
All right.
So, this is a topic that honestly probably is what led to me doing this podcast. First of all, what kind of tree is that?
It's a bonsai tree.
That is
bonsai
dope.
plant.
How much was that?
$40.
How much?
40.
Where at?
Costco.
Because you get the little ones for like 70, dude. If you're getting ripped off.
I bought it at Costco, bro. They have a bunch.
I like authentic bonsai trees. I only buy them from Chinese guys.
I have one of those too. It died.
Oh yeah, dude, you still have that? That thing is ghost white.
I know, it's dead, bro. I just feel bad. I'm like, I tried so hard to keep it alive, and then Mom killed it, and she's listening to the podcast right now, going, "It wasn't me. I didn't kill it." She did. Don't believe a word of it. She killed it.
I may have been involved in that plant murder myself.
You bastard, man.
I did that neglectful plant homicide. But that's cool. Bonsai bush.
Thanks, man.
Anyways, okay. So this is a topic I feel very strongly about. It's topics like these that are the reason this podcast got made. I've been trying to save my passion to spread it out so I wouldn't have super passionate episodes and then not so passionate episodes later, but I don't know how else to do it, so we're getting into it.
And I'm going to interject here. This topic me and Rocky have gone the ropes with many, 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 many times. Oh, like, we drive to work together almost every day, and it has come up so many times. We've probably talked about it 80 times. And every time it gets a little heated, and sometimes it gets pretty well derailed. And so we're going to try and keep it on track, but no promises, and it might get a little heated in here.
Yes. So, this country, as you know, Shadow, is going through a process called impeachment.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know exactly how it works, and I don't blame you if you don't, it's not that crucial to your life, so I get it. I get that people, if you're not passionate about it like me, you don't follow it, and that's fine. Well, the same reason a lot of guys love the Super Bowl, and I don't. I'm not that passionate about it. I think the difference might be that if I tell a guy who avidly watches football or avidly watches the Super Bowl that I don't watch the Super Bowl, I get a look of
absolute disgust.
Are you serious? Like, how are you even a man if you don't watch the Super Bowl? And I'm not that way about my beliefs, or at least I try not to be anymore.
You do okay. You do okay.
So, the impeachment process goes as follows. The House of Representatives serves basically as a grand jury. And a grand jury is when a criminal gets in trouble. I believe it's usually only in felony cases, but I'm not sure. A grand jury hears the arguments of the two lawyers and of the two sides, the prosecution and the defense, and decides whether or not to press charges, whether or not charges should be filed. And so the House of Representatives serves in similar fashion in impeachment. They hear both sides, the prosecution and the defense, and they decide whether or not to impeach. And so now the president has been impeached. The House of Representatives decided to impeach, and now the trial phase of the
impeachment
hearing goes to the Senate. And the Senate decides what the punishment shall be. And I think there's actually more punishments than just removing from office. But removing from office
it's the guaranteed punishment, I guess, isn't it?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
If they find him guilty, I thought that was the deal. He was impeached for sure, and then anything else after was... was just my understanding.
That
I might
be
wrong.
I don't know.
And that's the thing about the impeachment trial is it's pretty loose from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Like, the Constitution's not super clear. They're like, oh, they're not going to be stupid enough to elect somebody that'll get impeached. And then, like, I think it was with Nixon was the first impeachment trial. They're like, oh, we got to kind of make this up as we go along. I think he was the first one.
No, Nixon was never impeached. Nixon resigned before he...
But they were setting up the process for the impeachment trial.
And I think the first one was Andrew Johnson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but I don't know the details of that either.
Either way.
But, so, the House of Representatives decided they had enough to prosecute. And they called some witnesses. One of those, however, some witnesses they didn't call were the whistleblower, the original guy who called Donald Trump out for his behavior, and the Bidens who Trump was trying to prosecute. So this is where I'm trying to stay on task, but I see no impeachable offense I've heard the transcript of the recording of the phone call. Yes, Donald Trump does ask a foreign leader to investigate his political rival. However, he asked a foreign leader to investigate his political rival who looked really dirty in that country. And
who was potentially a criminal?
Yeah. The U.S. had already lost a lot of money in said country, Ukraine. And they... And I don't have a problem with my leaders saying, hey, you need to investigate this before we give you any more money to lose. You know, we've lost a ton of money in Ukraine to corruption.
Sure.
So I'm not at all opposed to. And I honestly can say I would give Barack Obama the same benefit of the doubt.
If he had had somebody investigate it.
Yeah. So
a high-ranking member of the Republican Party.
Yeah. So or Mitt Romney in 2008. 2012.
Yeah.
And so that being said about old Mitt Romney, I was driving to work, and there's a billboard in Salt Lake right before you get off on the 201 exit. And it's Mitt Romney paid for a billboard that says, "We must call more witnesses in the impeachment trial. If not, it's a cover-up." So, the Democrats are in charge of the House of Representatives, so they're in charge of they are the ones that impeached Trump, and the Republicans are in charge of the Senate. So why all of a sudden, Mitt, do we need to call more witnesses? The opposing team called all the witnesses they wanted to call
while missing some key witnesses.
In order to impeach. And now all of a sudden, Mitt, we need to call more witnesses? Because why? Because it'll be a cover-up? How is it a cover-up when the Democrats were the ones who had the opportunity to call all these witnesses before? Now it's a cover-up?
That should have been.
Yeah. Now it's a cover-up? Now we can't...
Should have been make-or-break witnesses, so to speak.
Yeah. So now we should put this country through more in Mitt Romney's eyes in order to do what? To embarrass a man who maybe made fun of Mitt Romney a little bit, maybe embarrassed Mitt Romney a little bit?
A lot. He probably embarrassed him a lot. Just to be fair.
Let's talk about that, Mitt. What, Mr. Romney, sorry. I'm going to try and be more respectful because
the way you're saying Mitt has venom, bro.
I have zero respect for the man, but I'm going to try and pretend like I do. Mr. Romney. In 2012, you ran a campaign against the most leftist president since Woodrow Wilson. I would argue more leftist than Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson got more done for the leftist agenda, but barely, and only because the American people had been through that before.
It's excluding Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I'm open.
It doesn't matter. Either way, he's up there. Top 3, let's say. In 2012, you ran a campaign against him that was milquetoast. You stood for nothing in that campaign, and you lost miserably. Miserably. You didn't even put up a fight, sir. And now, because you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you're back in Washington. Again.
Senator of the state of Utah.
And now not only are you not fighting the left, but, sir, you are fighting the the most powerful and one of the very few weapons that the right has against the left in President Donald Trump.
Interesting.
Mr. Romney, you had your chance to fight the left in this country and you didn't take it. You turned yourself into a wet paper bag, and Barack Obama fought his way right out of you. Because the left always fights, but the right has a hard time finding people that fights. So when they do find somebody that fights, it's typically a guy like Donald Trump. A guy who's got flaws, for sure. But guess what? Most fighters do. I've never met a fighter who I genuinely liked. They're all pretty abrasive, and they have deep flaws, but they fight. Mitt. Yeah, or Mr. Romney, sorry. You're a likable guy, fella, but guess what? That makes you not a fighter. That makes you not a fighter. And you've proven time and again that you are not a fighter. And I am ashamed of my fellow Latter-day Saints for voting for you. Because we do this. We get a guy who is some sort of Latter-day Saint celebrity, and we vote him into office over and over and over again, even though they are weak and spineless at best, and full-on leftist at worst. Please.
Orrin Hatch was the same way.
Oh, I know. I know.
And he was in office for like 30 years.
Dude, I was so happy when Orrin Hatch went out and retired. I was like, finally, he retired. And guess who's running for him? Mitt freaking Romney, dude. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And of course, I knew. I was zero surprise. They're going to vote him right in. They're going to vote him right in. Why? Because we don't like the taste of a fighter in our mouth. They leave a bad taste in our mouth. So, we fight him.
He was a United States Senator for 42 years.
42 years. Because he knew how to play. He knew how to play these people. So, sorry, I got a little sidetracked. This is not the direction exactly that I wanted to take it. So I need to check my notes. So, and if you need evidence of why Donald Trump is a fighter and Mitt Romney is not, Donald Trump pulled this country out of the Paris Climate Agreement. An incredibly unpopular decision, mocked or ridiculed by Republicans and Democrats. Now, if you're a Republican and you ridiculed that, we know what side you're on. We know who we have to fight, and it's you. That is the best decision ever made, not according to me, a guy who barely believes in man-made climate change, but according to the head of the climate change, or the head of climatology at MIT. What's his name? Anyways, there are liberal climate change advocates who said themselves that and we need a guy to do this Googling for us so that I don't get distracted.
Yeah, you can't Google and talk at the same time.
Yeah, no.
Discovery.
So there are climatologists who believe 100% man-made global warming who said the only thing the Paris Climate Agreement will serve to do is bankrupt this country and will not do any good to affect climate change. And
it's a smooth pill to swallow because it seems like we're doing something with the Paris climate change.
Sure.
Or Paris, what's it called? The Paris Climate Summit or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like we're doing something about climate change, even though it's doing nothing. Regardless of whether or not you believe in climate change, it's not doing anything. The Paris Climate Summit is not doing anything. It's just costing the United States money, and that's it. That's all it's doing. It feels like we're doing something, though, so it makes us feel good about it, because we're like, oh, but we're doing this, even though it's actually doing nothing.
Right. Bjorn Lomborg, director of Copenhagen Consensus Center. Yeah, I don't think that's the guy I was thinking of. Anyways, there's more than one of them. There's more than one of them that say this. The Paris Climate Agreement did no good. He also defunded the UN Council on Climate Change. He sent Nikki Haley to the UN as an ambassador. He moved the capital of Israel in the U.S.'s eyes from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Moved the embassy,
Yes.
which several presidents had promised.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3, I think.
And none of them, none of the spineless ones we've had, have done it. Do you think Mitt would have had the guts to do any of these things?
Well, and it was promised by both sides, left and right. I think it was the last 3 or 4. It might have been since old George Bush Sr. that they've been promising that. I can't remember if he did or not.
Yeah. Mitt had a chance to fight, and he didn't. He chose to run a milquetoast campaign for fear of being called racist. Mitt, I got news for you, bro. They're going to call you racist no matter what you do. They still will. So fight, man. Fight. You know who doesn't care if they get called racist? Not Barack Obama.
Well, he doesn't either. What are they going to do? Barack, you racist.
Donald Trump gets called racist every day and still fights. Does battle against the left. And here's the thing. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Did not vote for Donald Trump. Do I regret that decision? Oh, yeah. But how could I have known that this Hillary Clinton donor, lifelong Democrat, was going to get into office and do what he is doing?
Yeah. You never can tell.
And what he is doing is fighting the left. And he's got there's a little bit of a liberal agenda that he pushes once in a while. Banning bump stocks. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, but no one's perfect. You want a perfect candidate? Run for office. That's the only way you're going to get one.
You want a perfect candidate? A candidate you agree with?
Yeah, every time, run for office. And hopefully you'll agree with him every time. I doubt Mitt Romney agrees with himself on a lot of the things he does.
Well, and he has a history of social health care programs. When he was governor of Massachusetts, one of the most left-sided states, he was a Republican governor of Massachusetts and introduced social health care reform, tons of social programs, which for me is a red flag. If somebody is introducing social programs, we need less of those, not more. Mm-hmm. All they do is cost the taxpayer money. And
that's right.
They are not perfect. They don't work.
Sure. So, here's the last thing I'm going to say on Mitt. Or on Mr. Romney, Senator Romney.
Brother Romney.
Not my brother. Just kidding.
That sneaky bastard.
Mitt, you're not a fighter. I really hope that this opposition to the real fighters costs you your political career. There are a lot of people who think it will. I don't. I know you're in that seat for life, and your son will probably get it after you. And your son, who threatened to run against Mike Lee a couple years back, is just as bad as you are. You are cowardly, man. You stand for nothing. You think you're helping people, and you're not. You're enslaving them. Both of you. I really hope this costs you your political career, but the fact that the milquetoast presidential campaign you ran didn't cost you your political career gives me very little hope in that.
And You have a great foothold in a state of sheeple.
In a state of sheeple. That's right. And with that, Latter-day Saints, wake up. What are you doing? What are you doing? We have prophets, namely Ezra Taft Benson, who have warned us against the dangers of communism. Mitt Romney or of leftism. They're the same thing. They'll tell you they're not the same nowadays, but they are. They are the same thing. They will always end in the same gulag as they always do. These prophets have warned against communism. Mitt Romney does not fight leftism. Mitt Romney, at best, allows it to happen, and at worst, gives it a little push on the back.
Gives it a little pat on the bum and sends it up the stairs to bed.
We have a responsibility in this church to fight the wickedness that is leftism. Mitt Romney has dropped that ball. I'm not saying he can't change. I hope he does. But at 70 years old, it's not likely.
He does look great for 72.
Oh,
I
yeah,
gotta say, the
sure.
man,
Clean living.
He's a handsome man. Yeah,
Clean living. That's what Latter-day Saints do, though. They live clean. So, now, in sort of related topics, this will all kind of circle back. I was listening to a Joe Rogan.
Classic.
And he's a smart man. He's deceived. He does great interviews though. I heard him. He was actually talking to another comedian, Mark Norman. They were talking about who Joe Rogan was going to vote for. And Joe Rogan loves Bernie Sanders.
Interesting.
Yeah, loves him, dude. And the vibe I keep getting from him every time he explains why he loves Bernie Sanders is because he feels we need more change. We need to change this country. Like, it's so flawed that we need a president who's willing to stand and make a change, even if that change leads to Soviet Unions and Red China. Red America, Soviet United States, I don't know how they'll name it, but that's what he wants. That's what this guy is a communist. And he thinks this country's so flawed that it needs that much change. And then he comes up with another idea, which is, instead of voting for Bernie Sanders, I would rather just give all the power to a group of the smartest men in the world. And they think about a problem, snap their fingers, and they get it done. And that's what happens. Which is only way more dangerous than voting for Bernie Sanders, And here's the thing. Here's the thing about revolutions. And this will tie in, I promise. We got so lucky when the American Revolution happened. Because typically revolutions end in the Soviet Union, the Red Chinese, Cuba, Venezuela, all were revolutions. The French Revolution that ended in the guillotine, and later Napoleon, who wasn't as bad as any of those things, don't get me wrong, but it did end in a dictatorship. So,
an empire,
sure.
But same thing.
Sure. So, what? So we got incredibly lucky with the revolution that we had, that it ended in this country, the freest country on the planet, the country that's pulled the most people out of poverty. And you can say we still got poor people in this country, but guess what? I take my kids around sometimes to deliver care packages to the homeless, and I don't think I've ever seen one that doesn't have a cell phone. That's how freaking rich we are in this country. These people are not too poor to eat. They are too crazy to live in society. That is why. Those are the only poor people we have in this country.
particularly in this state.
Sure. And there are poor people. Don't get me wrong. That's not true. There are poor people, but typically the ones that don't have houses, the poor people that don't have houses, there's something else going on there.
Are choosing
typically, and that's not everybody. I get it. There's an exception to every rule, but typically.
But generally, that's what we've experienced.
Yes, and this is And that being said, there's another thing we got extremely lucky on when it comes to the revolution, and that is a group of the smartest people in the country all got together to come up with the best system of governance. And this is what they came up with. Again, the country that we live in today, with so much prosperity, our lives are so easy. You know, everywhere from indoor plumbing to televisions, the digital, starting with the industrial revolution and moving into the digital revolution, all are responsible. All of that is this country. All of that happened because of this country and its freedom and capitalistic ways. Again, we got lucky with that, though. It doesn't work out like that. The smartest people, you give the smartest people. Here's the thing. If you give all the smartest people in the country all the power, and not only that, you tell them that they're smarter than everybody else, do you think that's going to go good?
It wouldn't if I was one of the smartest people.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, you're too stupid to talk to me anyways, so why don't you just go in this camp over here? We won't call it a gulag, but we all know what it is because we're the smartest people in the country. Right?
You know, right. Like what would they call it? A Politburo?
Sure.
Could that be what we call the smartest group of people in the country? A Politburo?
Well done. So, we got lucky twice in this country. I'm starting to think it wasn't luck. But we can call it luck for all you non-believers out there. So back to my point. Joe, you tell jokes and make tons of money doing it. You get to talk to the most interesting people on the planet and make tons of money doing it.
You get to narrate fights and interview fighters.
Yeah, and make tons of money doing it. You have enough leisure time that you get to practice martial arts anytime you want. Shadow and I have enough leisure time we can do a podcast that no one listens to.
And that probably will never make us any money.
No, 100%. All of that because of what? Why? Why all of a sudden in history can you and I sit around this computer and talk
to 20 people?
To 20 people instead of be out doing chores, milking cows in order to feed our families. What do you suppose that is? Do you think that just happened? Do you think that it's a coincidence that this country, the freest country on the planet, happens and then all of a sudden, after 5,000 years, and there's a book written about this, and 5,000 is significant to the title. After 5,000 years of poverty, where even the richest person on the planet didn't have an indoor toilet. Now, what?
We live in a time of
Yeah.
Unrivaled wealth and prosperity.
And then all of a sudden this country's founded and everything just shoots through the roof as far as technology goes. And we don't owe that to anything this country did? You think this country needs to change now? To change to a ideology that typically sends countries back to the Dark Ages? That's how you feel about it, Joe Rogan? Where does this lack of gratitude come from? Do you understand? I don't get it. How do you not see the correlation between
freedom and prosperity?
And maybe we're lucky because we were born into a church and we chose to believe in a church that tells us, look, this country's here for a big time reason. You know?
Yeah. It's part of something bigger.
Yeah. And Joe Rogan doesn't get that. He doesn't get that. But how do you not see, though? How do you not see?
irrelevant of whether or not you believe in God, how do you not see the correlation between the founding of this country and the exponential growth into, again, unrivaled prosperity and wealth?
Sure. Joe, you're a good fighter. So 200 years ago, you'd have made your living fighting, maybe. Maybe. More likely you'd be a farmer. Your life would be hard. You'd die at 50. The only jokes you'd tell would be to your friends, you know.
At a bar.
At a bar, maybe. A tavern where the beer's warm because refrigeration didn't get invented yet. Another thing that is an absolute miracle that we just take for granted. Granted. You know? Where does that come from? Why does everyone think, oh, we got to have change? Why can't we just do what, say, Donald Trump is doing? Let's just pull it back. Let's pull back the machinery and the bureaucracy and just let the people do what they do. Because the people prove time and time again that they're going to invent things to make the world better. Right? Look at our lives, folks. Imagine not only living in a third world country, but imagine when all the countries were third world countries. You know?
Yeah.
And the only thing that is different now is freedom. You know? Empowerment to the people, to the everyman. Empowerment to the comedian who, you know, who knows? 200 years ago, the way that Joe Rogan thinks, he might have been freaking hung for asking too many stupid questions, you know? We don't ask about that, you know?
We live in an amazing time.
Yeah. An incredibly amazing time. And why? Because this country set up a model. Some countries followed, and some countries didn't. And the ones that followed are exceedingly wealthy and complaining about how hard their lives are and how terrible their countries are. And the ones that didn't follow are still struggling to have running water and electricity.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. And there's one man who sees that. He's fighting to pull us back to that day and age that men had an opportunity to do something with their lives, who weren't bogged down by an incredibly devastating tax burden, who weren't bogged down by stupid taxes that come up because your car emits too much smoke. And Mitt Romney is fighting that man. Mitt Romney, of all the people, who is as lucky as you and I are to know how great this country is fighting the man who wants to bring this country back to greatness. And when I say back to greatness, I don't mean back to when slavery was around. I don't mean back to when women couldn't vote. Because if you think that Donald Trump is a sexist, how do you explain how empowered his daughter is?
Yeah.
That chick is wicked smart. And a terror in business, from what I hear. And she's not all looks, which she has looks, but she's incredibly smart, and she loves her dad. And nobody looks at that like, hey, maybe this guy empowers women. Maybe he teaches women their own self-worth. Even though he's got some flaws when it comes to treating women. But people are complex, you know?
Things aren't always black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wake up, Mitt!
What? I mean, and I'm sure, you know, I get it. Trump's anti-immigrant, hence he married one. You know
how it is.
Definitely anti-immigrant. But
that's how I handle things, too.
Yeah, for sure.
When I hate things, I just marry them.
Yeah. So
that means I don't hate very many things.
Mm-hmm. So, Mitt Romney, stop it. You are fighting the man who you should be supporting. And there could come a time in the second term when Donald Trump will prove everybody right and he'll start doing stuff that that isn't fighting anymore. But until that time, as long as he's still fighting for this country rather than against it, shut up and fall in line. Because you, sir, failed at your chance to fight. And now you're fighting for the side that you should have been fighting against. So, stop it. I hope you never get voted into office again. I hope you retire happy and rich, which is what you're going to do no matter what you do. Now stop screwing the rest of us. And shut up. Thank you.
Maybe it will help if you call him by his Twitter name. Pierre Delecto.
What?
That fake Twitter account he set
Oh,
up.
yeah.
So if you look, just a lighthearted story to close out on, unless you've got more.
Nope, I'm done.
If you look on his Wikipedia page, the Wikipedia page for Mitt Romney, it says his under writing career, pen name, Pierre Delecto. And that's it. That's all it says under his writing name.
Oh.
Wikipedia calls that a pen name, not a fake Twitter handle.
What is it? Pure Intellecto?
No, Pierre Delecto.
Pierre Delecto? I don't think I've ever heard that before.
You haven't heard of his fake Twitter?
No, I've heard about the fake Twitter, but I never heard the name.
Pierre Delecto.
Dude, that is a freaking porn name, dude. Is it not? Hello, ladies. I'm Pierre Delecto, and I am delectable.
I just think we're too quick to forget about old Pierre.
That's rough.
We forget that this 70-year-old man who's supposed to be fighting for our rights is too afraid to go on Twitter and talk back to people under his own name. He has to use a pen name, a fake Twitter. For all of you out there, it's a fake Twitter to remind people or to fight for himself. He can't even fight for himself, let alone your rights in your country.
We get it, man. The left is a scary force. They can paint you as racist. They ruin careers. But, sir, they haven't ruined Donald Trump's yet. He is fighting. And they're throwing everything they can at him. And nothing's sticking. So why don't you at least support the guy who can fight? When you cannot. Pierre. Delecto.
At Pierre Delecto.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well.
That's all from us.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from pushing that issue, sir.
Issue pushed.
Indeed.
The issue of impeachment pushed.
Pushed.
Alrighty, folks. We'll be back next week with another episode of Pushing the Issue. Thanks, and God bless.
And as mad as it will make me to see your comments about how great Mitt Romney is, feel free to leave them.
Please comment how great Mitt Romney is. We're begging you.
Have a wonderful evening.